Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Market Check, brought to you by BB. There is no second best daily YouTube live stream to talk about markets. Welcome back, guys. Happy Tuesday. A little bit further than halfway point of the month of May, but rest assured, guys, I mean, this quarter has pretty clearly already taken shape, and now we're going to discuss, really how we expect the month of May to finish up, and obviously everything in between. But first, I'm Tommy. You guys also know me as Snorlax. I'm joined by Tucker, Prometheus, and soon we will also be. I mean, it's Tuesday, right? I'd be remiss if I didn't get to introduce Louis. He will be here later on this show. But yeah, before I can do my usual yap about the coins, right, or about equity markets. Because usually I put a little bit of I talk a little bit about the coins before I ask for the like button. Today, I'm just going to get straight to the point, so you don't have to hear me ask about it again. Or maybe you do. Maybe we do have to look at soybeans today. I'd really like today if we didn't have to do that, though. We've kind of been talking about how on a lower time frame, there's been a lot of opportunity with some of these altcoins. In both directions, man. I mean, they've just been swinging back and forth. We've got I'll wait before I talk more about the Genius Act, obviously, but we've got some reasons for certain assets in crypto to have asymmetric bids. And of course, the ones showing weakness are probably going to be a little bit more correlated with Bitcoin and ETH, which, pumped last night, are selling off a little bit this morning. But if you guys could run the like button up, I would be very appreciative that we just get to look at the coins, that we just get to look at stocks today. Please no soybeans. Really, I feel like it's just kind of that class of commodities, right? Not all of them, but we like looking at a handful of them. But if you guys could hit the like button, yeah, you help us keep the lights on at BB. I'll stop yapping. I'll go ahead and get into the market. That's what you guys are here for. Bitcoin and ETH ran up during Asia session last night. I mean, Bitcoin was really threatening that breakout. And really yesterday itself, I thought, was very interesting flow throughout the day. I don't know if you guys, saw it this way, but Bitcoin was just grinding up repeatedly up into the high, while you had altcoins, on a lower time frame showing this weakness that they weren't necessarily going to follow. It was kind of like, whoa, well, is this altcoins hinting at a Bitcoin rejection? Is this just Bitcoin siphoning liquidity before an all-time high breakout? I think it's probably still too early to discern which one, yesterday's move is going to end up falling under. But, we are pulling back into New York session. We'll see what we get, I think, here over the next few days. I think we said on yesterday's show, a small pullback could make sense. I'm personally in the camp that maybe a little bit lower before higher, but I mean, it's safe to say the price action that we've seen from crypto, especially this week, has been super, it's been super erratic, especially with the relationship that Bitcoin has had against altcoins. I mean, I'm just looking at my watch list. Everything is red except for 3 coins, AVE, Curve, and Trump. I couldn't tell you why Trump is green necessarily. Maybe it's because we've got the dinner with Trump on Thursday, but I can tell you why stablecoin or DeFi protocols rather are benefiting after the Genius Act was passed yesterday, which is a big win for crypto, guys, and a big win for stablecoin regulation. If we had not won this battle yesterday, we're probably not looking at stablecoin regulation until like 2028, 2029. And yeah, I mean, this was a golden opportunity. Seems like the powers that be seized that opportunity, and obviously, as a byproduct of that, AVE and Curve are seeing some upside today. But I mean, that's what I see when I look at my watch list, guys. We're just gonna have to see what Bitcoin and ETH do. I still think at the end of the day, majors are going higher though later this summer. But how are we doing, guys? What are we seeing in the markets?
Doing good, doing very, very good. Yeah, I know that the bill that was passed last night, I mean, that's a huge one for banks, for custody, and just for the overall direction of the market. Bringing some regulation to the table, and you're starting to see, I think, Coinbase or Ripple looking to buy out they're looking to buy out Circle, I believe. So that's definitely a big one. And you're starting to see, you know, these large players really start to try to position for, I mean, really the next decade. You know, they're trying to capitalize on infrastructure. They're trying to capitalize on, you know, fee generation. They're just trying to, you know, get their corner or get the market kind of cornered while they can. But yeah, definitely seeing some local grindy kind of nasty little price action on the lower time frame. You know, leave it up to the market makers to cast their spell in the markets right at all-time highs. So, you know, nothing new. It should be nothing new to us at this point, right? You know, whether we see a little bit of pullback here or not, I do believe price is going to be resolving higher. And what a beautiful thing it would be to have a bullish summer, guys. I've been saying that for a few weeks now. You know, that'd be pretty awesome. That'd be pretty awesome. So it's just kind of what I'm seeing.
Prometheus, you do look like you're playing Fortnite, right?
Do what? I need to get one of those desk mics.
Did you see this?
Prometheus is dropping it unfiltered right now. Just pick it up. Dude, I'm a big fan of the what is it? The little submachine gun. You know what I'm talking about? Shoots super fast. That one's pretty good.
I haven't played Fortnite in a really long time. Like probably when I think the first year it came out was when I was a sophomore in college. I enjoyed playing it for maybe a few months. And then that's when like I think all the building stuff started to get so out of hand that it unironically became a skill issue. I stopped playing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was crazy back in the day. I remember like somebody would be running at you and they just like build a tower and you just be like, oh, I'm so dead.
It's like, all right, let's do this this third person shooter game, and then yeah, all of a sudden you see like the Empire State Building spawn out of nowhere.
Yeah, it was a good time, man. It was a good time. I don't know. I don't know what to think here. Like, I mean, look, okay, so this is our like all-time high weekly close, right? This is kind of our Monday range. You know, we're right here, right? We're right here. So kind of an important spot, right? I think if you can do that, but obviously this is not like a huge range. These aren't going to be massive moves. And we've talked about like you probably don't want to fade the move out of this compression, right? Like if we break out, I wouldn't be trying to short it. If we break down, I wouldn't be trying to long it immediately. So this is probably kind of a no touch, honestly, like especially right where it's at right now.
Yeah.
Like that's a pretty precarious spot to try to, you know, I'm talking about leverage at the moment, right? Pretty precarious spot to touch leverage, but you know, in general, I think it's probably going higher over the next, you know, couple months, right?
Yeah.
Even if we do have to, you know, eventually come back to like, I still think you could test like 100K, right? Which would be fine. It's like a $4,000 drop. That's not huge. You could still do this, you know, but I don't think that would be the end of the world.
I kind of like 98.
98.
98, 99.
Yep.
Yeah, that's fine, honestly.
It's like just deep enough to scare the shit out of out of top buyers, but not deep enough to like really let out, I think, trap bears. You know, from the pump that we had, like what was it, 2 weeks ago?
Yep.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago. Yeah, like so you want this full candle retrace, that's what you're saying?
Not the whole thing. You know, I think, but at the end of the day, at like the swing fail shorters, I think should realistically stay underwater. From that level, from the previous range level. These to me are kind of just like shenanigans within this new consolidation that we're putting in, probably before higher prices later this summer.
Yeah, if you zoom out on the weekly too, I mean that level's in confluence with the retest, previous supply region, flipping in demand, backfill that liquidity. A lot of confluence right there. Yeah, I think that would be, like Tommy said, you kind of get maybe some longs to exit their positioning or their positions, maybe some shorts to pile back in down at those levels. But I'm also kind of into the camp, right, where it's kind of becoming consensus, almost it feels like at this point, that we're getting a pullback. And I'm having a tough time. I've been calling for this level for quite some time, that like 98 to 99, that backfill for the last week and a half. But I mean, I'm just seeing on my timeline, everybody's looking for a pullback. So I mean, part of me is maybe thinking, what if we go higher, break all-time highs, consolidate shop above, like 108, between like 108, 110K, and then you see something like that, but get ton more longs to pile in, blow out the shorts, and then do it. I'm now kind of in the camp where I'm not so sure we see a pullback right here. But I am very much in the same camp as Tommy of the level that you want to watch out for.
I think they made it really difficult for everybody with a bearish bias to hang on to shorts in the last like 2 days, right? Because not just have alts kind of like dumped and then retrace these dumps 2 or 3 times, but you also have Bitcoin just like slow grinding up towards the all-time high, man. It's either a sign that the market is very strong or that, I think they're baiting in people potentially for a larger altcoin wash. I really don't think that the drop would be, that profound on Bitcoin. It's really more, I think, like these ETHs, these Solanas, these other altcoins that have been, I think, threatening a deeper drop for the last few days. Will they give it or not? I guess is the question.
Yeah, Solana's right on the edge. I mean, it looks like it's hanging off on the edge of a cliff right now, I will say. ETH looks quite a bit better, but yeah, Solana looks like it wants to come down, like Tucker showing that 155. It looks like a good level to be watching out for. But I mean, Solana is also one of those things, or it's one of those tickers and one of those charts where it looks really bad until it doesn't. It looks really bad and then it just melts face. Yeah, Solana's a tricky one.
Yeah, like back here, it looked terrible. It looked terrible, and then it just ripped.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
I still think, well, 2 things really. One, that Sol ETH is topped, and then secondly, we're most likely to see Sol ETH ripping lower from ETH USD moving higher rather than prices moving down. I don't think if things like ETH and Sol were to take a step down, I actually don't think Solana would be hit as hard as Ethereum. As ironic as that would seem, because Sol is so much weaker, just because it realistically didn't lift as far off the bottom as Ethereum has over the last few weeks.
Yeah, I agree. You see was it Jeff Winkle, whatever his name is? He like moved 260 mil in Ethereum to Kraken.
Mm-hmm.
So no, but I mean, I agree with that. I mean, largely positioning from Ethereum was offsides at the lows. And you've seen a lot of people probably trying to chase this pump on Ethereum. And it's had, a better move off the lows than Solana. And you could definitely see potentially, some people get liquidated that, long the Ethereum upgrade announcement and yada, yada. But just from an overall, percentage return basis in the long run, I definitely think Ethereum's going to be outperforming Solana here moving forward.
Yeah, let's look at that Sol ETH chart. Yeah,
that's fried.
It does look a bit fried. I mean, quite yet, but it's close. I mean, where do you want to draw it from? But
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, probably wants to go a little bit lower. What about, dude, this chart is just a juggernaut.
It's, you can't get in front of it. You can't get in front of it.
Yeah, you really can't, bro.
Dude, every time I think that we are potentially entering a new regime led by ETH, Bitcoin dominance is like, no. Let me show you who's daddy.
Yeah.
Let me show you who siphons the liquidity during New York session.
Mhm.
Just gave you the Heisman.
Yeah.
I mean, like yesterday, Bitcoin's strength on a lower time frame was kind of unreal. Like I don't know if you guys were watching the lower time frame as closely as I was, but it was like every lower time frame. You know when you're watching an asset trade and it's just like it will dip maybe off like a swing fail locally speaking, but you just know, okay, well, the lows didn't break. So it's probably gearing up for another run at the highs. I mean, like typically, I think those things are fairly scalpable. But that was how Bitcoin was trading yesterday. I mean, it was just it was a beast. It didn't quite break the high, and so I think that's obviously what we want to see next. But you know, I don't think that Bitcoin's reign over the market is quite ready to loosen just yet. But I also don't think it's like that far away either. I mean, not to say that I've never been the person who's going to call for like super crazy prices on ETH, BTC, or Bitcoin dominance, but I kind of think we are getting somewhat close to a local high on Bitcoin dominance.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, it's, if you keep calling it, eventually, you know, eventually it'll happen.
I've only called it for the bottom one time. I've only called
No, I'm not saying you specifically, just the timeline in general. It's tough, man. It's tough getting, you know, bullish on that chart. You know what I mean? You have pretty significant channel that you've been stuck in the entire way down.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I mean, if you kind of were to imagine you have, you know, standard deviation cloud on that chart, we're probably, you know, reaching that upward bound. But yeah, I'm just like, man, you know, yep, that trend line.
I think BTC is going to go higher. Maybe not like right from here, but I do think it's going higher here in the next few weeks and months.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree as well. I like that level Tucker's looking at right now, 0.032. That looks like a good level. I mean, even only just for like a freaking mean reversion trade at this point, you know, like give us something. Give us something, but it's just perpetually, it's been perpetually down at this point. I do like what the foundation has done with this latest upgrade with the burning mechanism and all that. You know, it goes to show that they're, you know, they're trying, you know, they're trying to do something, and that's all that we can ask for at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they're trying.
I think I'd actually be looking for ETH longs at like 2100 if we could get it.
Boy, that's deep.
100. Yeah, that
Boy,
is.
that's deep.
Maybe
No, I see it.
2000, 2100. I can see it. I could see it.
Structural retest. Yeah.
I mean, I would probably be a pretty big ETH bull if we got that level though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would too. I think that's in confluence with the total 2, total 3 chart, all looking, you know, like they kind of want to come back, backfill some of that liquidity, you know, form a little bit of a stronger base out here. Because I don't, you know, I mean, granted, we had a great move, you know, from off the lows from Bitcoin base. Bitcoin put in a great base. But yeah, maybe one little more backfill. Yep, that trend line rejected off of it before we see higher.
I mean, we know how crypto likes to trend now, right? Like it's until you get into price discovery, it's like it's these super aggressive stair stepping price action from things like ETH. I mean, even Bitcoin. to just make it a pain in the butt to actually catch the breakout. So you're either, gapping out or gapping up into a lockout, which is, what we saw in November of last year, or we do what we did for the most part of 2024, which was basically, just like this awful stair step price action until you break all-time high.
Yeah, that's what it
But
was.
I don't think that we are in like the 2024 regime in the sense that, okay, we're at range highs, time to go back to range lows. I will not, I won't prescribe to that camp.
No, I talked about that this morning in the Discord call. Just based off the price action we've seen, the move we've seen off the lows, is the move we've seen is not indicative of like, just put in this accumulation pattern to come back up to supply, sweep the highs, and jeet it back down to the lows. That is not the behavior, typical behavior, based off of what we've seen of, just for a sweep of the range highs to send it back down lower.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think total 3 looks too bad here, honestly.
Yeah, I think total 3's got a massive catch-up trade incoming.
And there are some alt charts that really excite me.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie. Like, especially, honestly, the large cap memes, I think is just the purest expression of market liquidity. At the end of the day, like, why would you, if you're trying to bid beta to Bitcoin or ETH, why wouldn't you just bid meme coins? I'm saying that kind of joking, kind of not, right? Because if we're talking about the conversation of altcoins, there's probably going to be a small handful of fundamental narratives that are, I think actually sustainable during any given cycle, right? I think right now it's pretty obvious what those coins are. Things like Hyperliquid, things like Kita. You can find some other ones as well. But then, you have all of these other VC altcoins, which are in theory both beta to Bitcoin and also fundamentals. But they just don't perform as well as some of these meme coins. They don't have structures that are as good as these meme coins. And ultimately they require more cost of capital, in order to be able to achieve like meaningful upside on them.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Just got a really awesome super chat there from Chris. So if you're looking for a low 0.3 ETH BTC, are you saying you can see consolidation happening around ETH all-time high 4,800, 50% rip on Bitcoin plus that performance puts you exactly there? Yeah, at some point, I think at some point you're going to see that capital rotation. Like I said earlier on the show, you're starting to see big players position for the better part of the next decade to come. And I don't think you can be bearish on ETH and just be, uber bullish on the broader crypto market. ETH plays a vital role in the ecosystem, whether or not people want to accept that or not. But yeah, once you get back, above 4K, I think that's, safe to say alt season's probably ensuing or has already ensued at that point. But even the slightest move, like you said, up to 0.3 on ETH BTC could see an absolute monster move out of Ethereum. Just like what we saw off the lows, like it does not take much for ETH BTC, going higher for Ethereum to nominally put in, really strong price action.
Do you guys buy the rumor that it's Alameda back in the order books doing the same strategy on Bitcoin in 2021 to ETH right now?
No way.
Because that's what Trading Axe has been saying. If you guys, I'm sure you guys are familiar with who that is. He's obviously very wealthy, very well connected. If he's saying it, maybe it's true, maybe it's not. We can dubiously speculate. Carolina's back in the order books. No, I think probably more of Tabasco, right? Sam.
Yeah.
And his other cronies. I mean, nothing ever happened to Sam, and he was. I mean, he's kind of like the bunny in Hoodwinked, wasn't he? Like he was throwing everybody under the bus, and meanwhile, he's the mastermind behind the whole plan.
I think CZ might be that. Remember he like put out that tweet and he just like took Sam and just was like, you know,
Yeah.
he's like,
Well,
sorry, bro.
He Game of Thrones Sam straight up.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. CZ he does not care. He's coming for that top spot. And if anybody's threatening him, he's made it clear that he's gonna come after you. So
Well, he's technically retired now, right? I have
Yeah.
a friend who dubiously speculates the next bear market ends when CZ is arrested again.
Oh man.
dude, that's a nice level for ETH too.
Yep.
Yeah, this is I could see your level, Tommy, maybe.
Mhm.
I think it gave a super aggressive. It looks like a super aggressive bearish retest to me, where we probably overcompensate and take out the lows that we set Sunday into Monday, and we'll see where that throws us back. But I lean like 2,000 to 2,100.
Yeah, I think if we were like entering a really strong trending market right now, I find it hard to see 2,100. I think if you see those kind of lower bound levels, it may take a little bit longer before we truly start to see that rapid price appreciation and kind of the banana zone parabola across the board. But if we are entering the parabola right now, I think a sweep of that like 23 to like 2,200 level, somewhere in there. Like I said, if we're entering that strong trending market, I'd look for those levels. But if we have more of a prolonged, accumulation here before really entering that the banana zone, we'll call it, 2,100 is most certainly in the book. I don't know what to call it, man. Like parabola, banana zone.
It's just so funny to hear it referred to that.
Yeah. But yeah, I think too, if you like look at Bitcoin on the daily there, that 103 level, you got to kind of want to watch out for. If you go to the daily, kind of those lows at like 103, you lose those. That 97 to 99K region is definitely on the books, but just some things I'm kind of watching out for locally.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen this bear div talked about a little bit. Right here, basically. And what happened last time? We got a big flush, a big higher high, and that was it. But yeah, this probably needs to reset a little bit. A little bit of a reset on it.
Well, there really aren't that many altcoins that are like. There have been some altcoins that have been holding support, but not really altcoins that have been trending per se. I mean, Curve and Aave especially gave it a higher high overnight, and looks honestly pretty insane. But yeah, I mean, most of the altcoins have been kind of just like more or less stagnant, I feel like, for the last few days. Farcoin, for example, it's holding. It kind of looks like it wants to raid some liquidity lower. I kind of liken it to an old SUI structure that we saw last year. But, the market leaders, I think, have taken a bit of a breather. And as long as that's the case, we're probably going to, altcoins are always going to be the risk on barometer at the end of the day. They're going to communicate, I think, the real direction of the market beforehand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think Farcoin looks pretty good here.
Yeah, I think Farcoin too is kind of tipping the hat for the rest of the market, in regards to this pullback that we're seeing. You saw a bunch of names catch up or have a little bit of a bounce to the upside. Fartcoin, if you remember last week, was flat most days or red when the rest of the market was up decent on most of those days. And these market leaders, as we've seen from the rest of the cycle, typically tend to precede price action for the rest of the market. So I was kind of calling that in the Discord. Fartcoin was looking a little weak and was maybe tipping the hat at a potential pullback here.
What do you guys think about equities here?
I was just thinking about that.
I think it's like Bear's last stand, like it's Custard's last stand. You have all the Indians, coming down the hill, just running at him. I mean, Bear's gotta. I mean, the thing is, from an options data perspective, we're starting to see huge amounts of volume come in at 62, 63, and 6,400 on the SPOOs. And if we remember back when we were at 5,500, I called out on my channel, they were seeing a ton of volume come in at 6,000. And look at where we're at now. And so it's really important to be paying attention to, where's the money going? And what we saw on Sunday was Moody's, was it their credit or their debt get downgraded, and the market completely shrugged it off. Like the market did not care. And when you're in a market like we're in now that's shrugging off stuff like that, I think it's you got to kind of pay attention to it. Like the market's strong right now.
Well, the flows this week I know are strong. I'm going to say a phrase I haven't said in months, which is Vanna Charm. Has been pretty strong. It's always strong. I think the week after OPEX or the week before. It is the week of OPEX, actually, I think, for May. Yeah, the flows are good this week. It's going to make it a little bit harder for the market to drop. I mean, at this point, it's like, I don't even know if I would view it as, and I agree with you, Prometheus, from like a level standpoint. If bears are going to send it lower, realistically, we should be getting a reaction from this level. But it's hard for me to view that reaction as more than kind of a blip. I mean, it could be very reflexive and sudden, where maybe we wake up down a few percent because the VIX ended up getting some sort of mechanical bounce. You squeeze some late shorts on it effectively. But as a whole, I mean, this looks like it's more or less going to continue to drift up, dare I say, or maybe even just form a prolonged shoulder. I guess we'll just have to see. I kind of feel like it will be pretty telling to look at something like Nvidia, actually, which has been leading big tech.
Nvidia.
But I don't like, I'm personally not really interested in trading equities here. I just don't think there's that much opportunity. You're either trying to short into a VIX structure that's clearly broken and bleeding, or you're trying to long with, in my opinion, pretty minimal upside at this point, unless you're playing an individual name. And there are a few interesting ones, like SMCI, but yeah, no, I think the market's more or less going to be dictated by Nvidia. My read on Nvidia is that we're going to see some sort of shoulder form, but as we look at, the structure here on Nvidia, you can clearly see how long it takes to like form a shoulder and form the head. And, it's going to take months and months and months for Nvidia realistically to actually trend again. So yeah, I just think it's probably going to be a really boring summer in equities, which is perfect for crypto.
Yeah, honestly. I was going to say, which is great for Bitcoin. That's fine with me. Yeah. I mean, I remember, Prometheus, you were saying there was a lot of gamma at 6,000?
Yes, a ton, like an absurd amount.
Right where we're at, isn't it? Pretty much. Yeah.
And I mean, so what you're going to see is that act as a magnet. Like if we start to move lower, it'll probably suck price back up. If we get back above it, you'll see a lot of long positioning come off the board. and, compress price back down. So right now it's just kind of acting as a pin in the market until we see, flows position at higher or lower strikes.
Mhm.
I think the only like risk to equities, and I actually think it's going to end up being a tailwind, is what we're seeing with the yields market. As exciting and as much as I know everybody loves to talk about it, I don't really even like to talk about yields. But I look at something like TLT, looks like it wants to trade lower prices. What's probably going to happen is going to be like last time. I think Jack has pointed this out on a show either earlier this or probably last week actually. But the last time 30-year yields got this high, we obviously got the percent or the best input. It's probably going to happen again. I guess it's just kind of a question of what's their breaking point. But yeah, I mean, maybe you see yields higher up one day than the rest, and that's why the market's down. That would be my explanation. But I do think, yeah, it's going to turn into a bullish catalyst because it's going to force the hand of the Treasury once again.
Mm-hmm. You're saying if we spike, what, 5% again? Not maybe.
I don't even know if we have to spike, honestly.
4.8.
It's like, yeah, we've traded up here a few times and they've given us a reason for it to come down. I'm sure the put or whatever you want to call it is going to come in if you approach those highs again.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you're not terribly far off right now.
No, you're not.
Yeah. Yeah, yields screaming higher. Got to kind of think, are they going to jump back on that, bad cop train, try to drive markets back down a little bit, drive yields back down a little bit. But there is that thing, I don't know if you guys saw that piece of legislation where Trump can supposedly fire Jay Powell now. Did you guys see that? I don't know the validity of it, but
I
didn't look into it.
It's probably not the best outcome, but it's the funniest outcome.
No.
The most entertaining, certainly.
Yeah.
I don't even think Powell's doing a bad job, but like
he's done an amazing job.
There's been some data. I don't know. I'm sure you guys have seen it that suggests inflation's about to tick back up. I mean, I know it's the source.
That's why yields are going higher.
It does seem like the sources are maybe a little bit biased, perhaps, but I don't know. I mean, I think that's more or less going to be like a theme that we see throughout this decade is entrenched inflation to a large degree, because that's what we saw in the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I think, honestly, we're seeing the move that we've seen out of yields is because that is the inflation fears.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, market's still kind of uncertain on, inflation ticking back up with tariffs, yada, yada, yada. But I think that's enough of yields and that jargon. Yeah. Chris says no sell in May, go away, or BTC conference concerns. I think there's always validity in kind of watching out, around the week of and the week after BTC conference. Just all the crypto natives selling profits into this most recent kind of mini alt season we've seen, probably to pay for some obscene credit card expenses, specifically pertaining to clubs. But no, I mean, it's historically the numbers have shown us that BTC conferences, we do see generally a little bit of a pullback in or around the Bitcoin conference, and it would be unironically the funniest part of it would be if Bitcoin was nuking and alts were flying.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the funniest thing.
That would be the funniest. I mean, I guess we could get some sort of move down in May, but I do think we're trading higher by the end of the month. That's kind of the regime I think we're in.
Mm-hmm.
So like sell in May, I guess maybe you're rewarded for a few days.
Mm-hmm.
but I think you missed June and July, which will probably be pretty nice for crypto, given the conditions that we kind of just outlined in equities. They're probably going to be boring, and there's a decent chance that we get some backdoor, stimulus because of yields. So that seems pretty good to me for crypto to have summer in a low volume environment.
That's true. Yeah. I think June and July are gonna be good months probably, but August, September we'll have to see. We will have to see.
Yeah, we will. What are some of the? I mean, let's look at some of the stronger alts in the market right now, right? Because there are a handful of things holding strength. Obviously, I know you guys are very familiar with two of them. We should definitely talk about them on the show today.
Yeah, let's do it.
Boy, oh boy.
I mean, the chart speaks for itself. There's not much else to say.
I don't even know how to
can't chart it.
Yeah.
No respect for your spider lines, Tucker.
No, I know that was like, yeah.
It doesn't respect anything except for the only level it's respect is the log 1618 at this point.
Yeah.
For like 2 days. And then that's it. It's linear fibs don't work. Nothing. This is just one of those names that's just taking over the market. And I really do think I talked about it this morning, and if you think about it, every single big, expansionary leg up that we've had in Bitcoin, there's been some narrative tagged alongside it, right? And whatever the alpha, whatever is able to capture that mind share and just be in the right place at the right time, leads the market. And what I believe to be that for this next leg up, and is shown to be that of this next leg up, is KETA. And the alpha of that narrative, what typically happens is, it runs from anywhere from, $1 billion to, I don't know, Tio ran to 20 billion, with the whole airdrop narrative. And so when the alpha reaches kind of that peak saturation, kind of reaches, that, multi-billion-dollar valuation, you then see that, larger wealth effect occur. And then the other narratives, the other names outside of that main narrative can really run and behave as beta. But right now, you're just seeing a concentration of liquidity and capital in this name in particular, that being KETA. And I think that it's going to be generally pretty hard for most other alts to run while you have this narrative being as strong as it is. It's gone up straight up in a straight line. I remember waking up yesterday, it was down like 20%, and within 2 hours it was green on the day. It's wild. Nutty price action. You can't even chart it. People ask me and they're like, well, where would you get an entry? Where would you look to get in? And I never really recommend buying parabolas. I think that's not a good way to have longevity in these markets.
That's a lockout trend though, right there.
Yeah, but it's like, if you want an entry, maybe take like 10 to 15 to 20% of the exposure that you would have on, get a starter position. And if it goes up higher, well, great, you have exposure. If it comes back down, you won't have an issue averaging down. And that's kind of the way I'm looking at these right now. They have so much strength. People ask me to chart them. You can't chart them. There's no charting in this kind of parabola, right? It's just kind of like buckle up and, get ready for the ride. And I'm sure at some point they'll cool down. I'm sure at some point they'll have a pullback and they'll have another consolidation. But these RWA names are what I believe to be, I remember I was asking Tucker, what do you think is going to be the next narrative? And he's like, RWAs, bruv. And, I was positioning KETA from the lows, and I was like, and I was having an issue of being like, well, am I just biased to my bags and biased to my narrative? And, I was really thinking about, I'm like, no, this stuff is going to take over.
Yeah, I don't I don't love this profile though, right? Like this volume profile is a little bit. You don't love to see the point of control like at the highs, right? That's not the most ideal. So, I mean, here's the thing: like you could have drawn this thing back here and it just blasted through there. It didn't matter at all, right? So it's like somewhat subjective, but there's a case to be made, especially if Bitcoin cools down a little bit. There's a case to be made. This thing is up like, what, 700% since May 6th. Like that's
unbelievable.
like there is a case to be made for a little cool down, and then but that's the only. I mean, there's no other way to chart. Like you can't really chart it. Like. This is the only volume profile you can really. I guess we could pull a VWAP, but
yeah, and it's like one of those things too. It's like, okay, we all think a consolidation, probably reaccumulation, is going to happen at some point down the road. Is that here, or is that at 300 mil market cap? Is that at 500 mil market cap? Is that at 750 mil market cap? Nobody knows per se, and that's why I think the approach of like, maybe getting a small starter here is not a bad idea. You can always average down. But yeah.
Yeah, I wonder. Let's see.
Because I mean, if you guys remember Goat, like, I think, let me pull up Goat's chart here. I mean, the chart's absolutely freaking cooked now, but on the way up, right, it did something similar where it had a consolidation, I think, at like 120 mil market cap, and then just proceeded to like churn higher and higher and higher and higher. So yeah, I mean, you get a pullback in Bitcoin, you get a pullback in Ethereum. I mean, you're going to see a pullback in alts too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of like at least this VWAP, probably. At least this one right here. Damn it. My magnet's on. Like that. Because that would be a decent little pullback. I mean, that would be like 30%, but we'll see.
Just goes to show there's always going to be a cohort of capital in this market still that wants to believe in something, right? That's not meme coins. That's not complete vaporware. They'll bid it hard.
Yeah. And the RWA narrative, it sustains bids much, much better in a much more organic way than meme coins, just because of the nature of it, right? You got to think of market psychology. Like people, whether people want to say it or not, at everyone's core, it's much easier to believe in something tangible than not, right? And if you have a project that has something that's tangible behind it, right? There's a direction, there's a narrative, there's an end goal, there's a solution, then it's much easier for, let's just say, the market to hold to higher valuations than a meme coin, right? Because meme coins, RWAs and fundamentals, it's not subjective. Like they either are doing something or they're not. Whereas meme coins, they're humor based, right? They're culture based, and that's very subjective. Where Tommy might find something that's funny, and I might not. Or there might be some culture coin where it's more easily understandable from one versus somebody else, and that's why meme coins, I think, have had a little bit of a tough time because whether people want to understand it or not, the psychology of just people's understanding is tangibility is much easier to grasp onto, and quote unquote believe on it than something that's intangible.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, this thing is a beast, man.
What about Collat? And that's your coin, Tucker. That's been also rich base.
Definitely not my coin. Some guys in the Discord found it, and it is a cooker. But no, I can definitely not take any sort of credit for finding this thing. But it is a beast. I will grant you that it is a beast.
I was about to say you got to take it off log to show how impressive the move is.
Yeah, you got to take it off log.
Honestly, same with both coins.
Yeah. Blew through the 1618, but let's see, where is it on log? Yeah, it's not quite there yet on log.
I have a dubious speculation about the like button, guys.
Oh yeah.
Do you think it's been properly hit?
I don't know. Let's see.
I don't think it has. I'm gonna run over to YouTube, and if we're not at 150 likes, I'm gonna run a commercial. I'm sorry,
hit you with something.
Tucker. Yeah, we're at 86, brother.
Oh, oh no.
Well,
we'll talk about Collat and more because this was a BB pick right here, guys. I mean, Kita and Collat were both big winners the Discord was in on very early. And we provide this alpha during these shows every single weekday. So if you could show your appreciation and hit the like button, we would be very appreciative. But for now, guys, we're going to have you watch a commercial for the BB terminal, which is your go-to tool for this cycle.
Tired of outdated trading tools, confused charts, dozens of tabs, endless stress? You're not alone. Introducing BB Terminal, your all-in-one command center for crypto trading. Track your portfolio, monitor the markets, stay ahead, all in one place. From chaos to clarity, from struggle to success. BB Terminal.
Doesn't that music just get you feeling some type of way?
Music is nice. The music is real nice.
Anyway, I'm sorry for interrupting you, Tucker. Please go ahead and resume your cook.
No, I was going to say this is kind of another one. I need the volume though. This is another one like Kita where it's like, how do you chart this thing because it's so vertical? Yeah, that volume's not going to help at all. Let's just do like this. I mean, besides drawing fibs, like there's not a lot you can do because it's in price discovery, right? And you're above your 1618. So I mean, your natural next target would be here, which is right at about 100 mil. I'm pretty sure the log 1618. Yeah, the log 1618 is at 125. So I mean, really, your next stop should be like 100 mil if we're just going off fibs.
Well, I have to imagine the Genius Act yesterday with stable coins is a tailwind for all of these RWAs.
Yeah, it should be. It should be. Let me pull up volume.
Is it RWA season finally?
It appears to be, man.
Only my bad.
Let me see if I can anchor this off something. That's a decent one. Let's get the lifetime. Lifetime's not going to help us. That's way low. I mean, that's probably the only one you can look at, right? Like 50 mil to 63. Like this whole area is probably a bid if you get it, you know. But kind of looks like it wants higher, kind of like Kita. But yeah, no, it's definitely been a nice one recently. It gave you a long time to bid down here. I mean, from March 16th to like May 7th. For 2 months, you could have bid this thing under 20 mil. Some of that under 10 mil. So yeah, if you get that green box, that's probably a big bid.
Yeah, that looks like it's going higher. Or at least it fundamentally should probably be repriced higher if it's still only at like 70 mil.
Yeah.
I don't even know what it does, but RWA narrative on Solana, that seems like a pretty undervalued asset.
I mean, for me, it feels like buying Ondo at 70 mil, you know.
You could buy Ondo at 70 mil. Oh, wait. You're okay. I see what you're saying.
Actually, I don't even know. Was Ondo ever at 70 mil?
No way. Maybe for seed round
No.
investors, but not for.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
What do some of these VC scams look like?
What about Barra?
Are they even worth looking at?
Oh my gosh.
Barra.
Oh,
Ooh.
it's the classic tale.
About
The classic tale. It's every single time. Launch and then just bleed perpetually.
isn't the NAD even out yet? No, it's not.
Bear market makers gave it enough time for the airdrop holders to exit, though. I will say they did a pretty good job with that. Multiple
I mean,
chances.
just look at this compared to like Hype, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like Hype did it the right way, where they just pumped the shit out of it at first, then it dropped, and now it's back. Damn, they really wrecked that breakout, actually.
I mean, like I said last week, this is a big
Yeah.
supply for Hyperliquid.
Mhm.
3-month distribution, basically, that we're trying to chew through now.
Yeah.
But I have to think eventually this thing's going to break out in a pretty big way. I'm just not sure whether it's going to head towards maybe like 21, 22 bucks first, or whether it's just going to go now. But here's the thing.
Great.
The thing about Hype is, you know, it's not exactly correlated to the market. It is, but it's not, right? I mean, Bitcoin, ETH, and Solana could puke really hard, and Hyperliquid is not going to be as impacted by the negative correlations that can tend to have.
Mm-hmm.
It'll more drop because, as I've said before, traders will sell it for collateral so that they can keep trading perps. I would have to think most of those people are probably out by now.
Yeah, they've got to be. You'd think so.
What else are you guys looking at from an altcoin standpoint? I feel like we covered a lot. You know, the strong ones, not as many memes, but yeah, a lot of strong alts, some weak alts, obviously. A lot of the Sol. I'm looking at some of like the Sol memes, especially. Trump's kind of strong today because I know I do think that Trump probably drops from here, but it's also really hard to keep something like that in your short basket when Thursday we have the dinner where Trump meets with the top 250 holders. I think Justin's son came out earlier today and said that he's going to be there, so that should be interesting. I'd be really intrigued to see like who all is at that dinner for top 250 holders. I bet there's some pretty big crypto related names there.
Yeah. Somebody asked about PER. What are your thoughts on PER, Tommy?
I mean, it wants to break out, I think. This is like one of those assets that we often see Hyperliquid traders sell first instead of Hype. So if the market's not breaking out, they're going to be selling their PER that they bought as beta exposure typically, which is why I think we see those wicks on the daily time frame. But I still think on like a net basis, there shouldn't be that many more sellers of this asset. So dips are for buying for me on this. If I get a dip on PER, I'll probably just keep adding.
Yeah, you could probably get like mid 12s, it looks like.
Yeah.
Mid 12s, 13. Anywhere in here is probably a good bid. Yeah.
Oh no.
Uh-oh. Stop. Just stop.
We were so close.
Compared to Pepe before it shot up.
Someday we're gonna have some like innocent account mimic their comments and accidentally get themselves banned.
Yeah, that's real. Pepe.
Now that you saw my face, any project I'm in, you will sell.
He's joking. He's joking.
No, I know.
All right, hold up. Okay, hang on.
I really like Pepe. I do think it can dip obviously with ETH, given my bias on that, but no, I think the Pepe is gearing up for a pretty big move out of this base. Like we're just kind of progressively rounding out more or less in a high time frame context.
What about this?
Oh no.
What about
Everywhere.
They're bad.
I'll get as many as I can.
I see what he's talking about.
See, they're all Asian women.
Oh no. Good Lord. I'm just letting you guys know, if you're dropping tickers in the chat, you are playing with fire.
Yeah. I think you got them all.
No.
I think you got them. Yeah, look at this, man. Look at this. This is actually pretty fucking clean.
That is
Oh,
clean.
yeah. I'm positioned for it.
You are?
Oh, yeah.
Let's see if we can just pull a little fractal. Whoa. I mean, yeah, it actually would be something like that. Probably, I mean, the magnitude of that should be higher. Well, that was a 2x. What would a 2x be?
Like,
and this is a 10th of the market cap of Pepe, right? So
yeah.
should pull more than a 2x, but
Probably smaller than that.
yeah, probably a 20th or something. Oh, I'm not playing. It's Tommy playing whack-a-mole this time.
I just love nuking 20 to 30 bots per stream. Thank you, YouTube.
Yeah, maybe something like that. What would that be? June? Beginning of June? Yeah.
I like the frog here, though.
You like the frog here specifically?
Yeah, I mean, again, my ETH bias is still the same, but if you zoom out and look at the entirety of that Pepe chart, it looks, it looks like it's curling out of that bottom that we set.
Mm-hmm.
I have to think if you're breaking above like 1.5, basically the highs of last week, you're probably starting to rip.
Oh, yeah.
No more chop at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, I look away for 3 seconds.
I mean, we think ETH follows. I mean, you think this would be in confluence with ETH, pushing up past 2,800, 29. Yeah. Yeah, I think the markets look good.
Where does Pepe go if we get 2,100 East, Tommy?
Probably like 1 flat or 105.
1 flat, 105. Yeah.
Sweep that wick low.
I mean, like the structure it's doing right now reminds me of what you will see. I mean, like, again, I'm going to repeat myself from like Bitcoin, where you're just chopping up with the deep higher lows, and then eventually you just gap up lock everybody out. I feel like we're headed there for Pepe at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Let me see. What other alts look intriguing?
And Bitcoin's grinding back up into those highs, man.
Mm-hmm.
The open interest profile on Bitcoin has been schizophrenic over the last few days.
Yes. That leverage flush we saw on Sunday was nuts. I mean, that was crazy price action.
Yeah.
Looks like vertical accumulation, honestly.
Let me just leave them. You're cooked.
Oh, oh my God.
Oh my God.
I bought 500,000 of this random shit coin with less than 1K in liquidity. You should buy it. OMG, crypto whales are buying my bags.
You guys
Yep.
think
all in
Nvidia you guys think Nvidia kind of runs a Tesla style fractal? I've been thinking that more and more and more, where Nvidia just probably, largely chops in this larger range that it's kind of set over these past, few months. And we see something similar to Tesla where it just kind of, chops sideways. I mean, you got all the passive flows from the S&P now. People still, you'll still have the whole hyper bullish semiconductor crowd, but I mean, real wealth won't be made in that ticker anymore.
Well, I do agree that the wealth creation for
Yeah.
this ticker is definitely finished.
Yeah. For sure.
If you're buying Nvidia at this point to get rich, you're pretty late to the trade at this point. Pretty clearly. I don't know. I mean, I think I look at Nvidia fully zoomed out, no log. It's up a lot in the last 2 years. I'm kind of torn on what to expect from it, right? Whether or not it's going to do something like what Tesla did, Prometheus, or whether it's going to do, maybe just kind of its own thing and slowly pass the baton to a new tech narrative in the Mag 7, right? I mean, we've talked a lot about humanoid robotics. I won't touch on them again today because some people don't like when we talk about the humanoid robots, but no, I think it's probably, for one, going to take a little bit of time, quite a bit of time, before Nvidia is actually trending in either direction again, to the tune of like a few months. I kind of think we could see a little bit more aggressive downside on Nvidia than Tesla, but I do see the Tesla fractal, right? Like I could see it playing out. I don't know if we're in a 2022 style regime, though. That would be, I think, kind of my pushback to Nvidia versus that Tesla price action that we saw in 2022. I don't know. I guess it'll just kind of depend, right?
So what, you're thinking this?
Yeah, I think. Yeah,
You're saying Nvidia is like what, like here?
I could definitely see it. I mean, more broadly, just the fact that it'll probably trade within a range for, I mean, the better part of the next 5 years, unless some new significant tech is released by Nvidia. But yeah,
I almost like banned him without reading the whole comment.
Yeah.
So for the people, we can't. So we have all the tickers they previously put in auto banned, and they just change like one word or one letter or one number. Yeah, one letter or one number every single time.
It's cruel and unusual.
I can see this playing out potentially. At least it's the ranging you're talking about.
Yeah.
I could see. So maybe this is a hot take. Let me know what you guys think. I kind of feel like this could, like the Nvidia bubble could pop, and indices could avoid like a huge bear market.
What do you mean
think
by
about
Nvidia
that?
bubble popping?
Like going back down into 50s, 60s, and 70s, because I think structurally that's where, on like a technical level, I would be expecting that current Nvidia structure to resolve, whether or not it is replicating the Tesla fractal, whether or not it plays out differently. I think that's like that inefficiency that we set from that earnings gap up. We're going to backfill a lot of it.
I personally have a really, really hard time seeing Nvidia going that low for a few reasons. One, I mean, you mainly got to think about the sheer amount of money and demand that there are for Nvidia GPUs and products at this point. And as we continue to move forward as a society through the technology and software that we use, that demand is only growing and growing and growing. And from a complete valuation collapse on Nvidia, what I would need to see is some technology breakthrough that essentially largely impacts Nvidia's bottom line. Because without that, I genuinely have a very hard time seeing Nvidia going back down to the valuations that it once was. I get what you're saying with the, huge gap up. I remember listening to that gap up on the drive home one day and just seeing like a 20%, meat stick.
Talking about this right here.
Yeah, there's that one, and then there's another earnings later on. Yeah, like
This was the most ridiculous one that I've ever seen.
yeah,
This
I remember that.
in
This IV was like juiced through the roof, and it
yes.
didn't matter.
Dude, this was I'm on the weekly. This was one day. This thing gapped up 30% in a day. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, and I mean, too, what was crazy
I
was
don't think we're going
IV
back
was
down
juiced
that
and had
low
the
on
outside
Nvidia.
move. No, but like the 50 to 60 region Tommy was talking about. I just think you have to see a technological breakthrough. You have to see something structurally change in the business and the underlying business itself, because as of right now, there's just way too much demand for their product, and they make way too much money, right?
Well,
You
the other
need to see.
thing, bro, is this was like a cyclical equities bear market,
Yeah.
which we're just not in right now at all,
Yeah.
in my opinion. But
That's why
this was 2022.
I feel like this Nvidia distribution could be a long one, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like it just chops up here for months. And I think that, like I for one am interested in shorting Nvidia later this year, but for the life of me, I can't really discern what expiration I really want. And if I'm picking a later one, I'm just gonna get murdered by theta decay, realistically. So I just don't really think there's much to do with this asset yet. I do think there is a really nice short trade coming later this year on Nvidia. But it's going to take some patience.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I mean, similar to what we saw in Tesla when we had that run down to like 100 flat. I mean, largely due to Elon buying Twitter, which is now X, and the whole negative sentiment around that. I mean, that was a large driver behind that move down that we saw in Tesla. And at some point, Nvidia is going to have some bad news coming down the pipeline, whether or not that's the catalyst for the move down, or the move to mark the bottom is going to be to be determined. But at some point, this thing's going to get some bearish catalyst, and that will could be the spark for that move lower. Because I think that's what you need. I think that's what you need for Nvidia. I don't think just off of raw valuation. I don't think off of like raw. Like there's got to be some reason to send it lower. And I'm not here to go out on crazy limbs and speculate. There's things you could speculate on, but as of right now, it's just I mean, it's a juggernaut in the economy, and all of our infrastructure right now is centered around it, and all of our up and coming infrastructure is centered around it.
Yeah.
Looks like such a crazy Head and Shoulders, honestly. It kind of reminds me of that like Bitcoin Head and Shoulders we had in 2021.
Let's see what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
I know you've been eyeing that for a long time, that Bitcoin fractal on Nvidia specifically. It does look a lot like it. I don't think like I said, I just don't think you see near as much downside, but it does structurally look like a shoulder. Yeah, and I think you could probably trade, that range on Nvidia anywhere from 70 to 90 at the bottom end to, upwards of 150, and probably just play the range for the better part of the next 5 years, if I'm being real.
Mm-hmm. You the vol shorter for Nvidia, Prometheus?
I will not. Those options are disgustingly overpriced. I will never. I get it's overpriced, and yes, selling vol seems enticing in Nvidia, but it's like one of those plays that you could be up on the position, for the better part of a month, and then one catalyst comes in the pipeline and just rinses you out of the, off the board. If anything, what I'd rather do from a positioning standpoint on Nvidia is sell covered calls on it. I think that's actually the better play, rather than just outright, selling calls or selling puts.
Mm-hmm. I kind of like the idea. I'm not an option seller, but I kind of like the idea of selling calls for Nvidia at this point, because retail, I'm sure, are just lapping them up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean,
Nvidia's kind of replaced Tesla as like the retail stock.
Yeah, it has.
Sure. Robinhood's trying to do that too right now, kind of too.
Yeah. Like, I just took some profits on it actually earlier today.
On Hood.
Yeah.
Wow. What a move.
Looks good. Yeah, really good move.
Right.
Caught this in the Discord. You caught this in the Discord at, sub $40. Great trade.
God, I was playing options. Same with Palantir. I was playing options on this down here in 2023, basically 24.
Dude, one of my buddies had Palantir stock at like $15 and had to sell it to pay for some, IRL expenses.
Dude, this was the earnings gap up we caught in May of 2023. I should have just bought shares, bro. At fucking $9. Oh my God, what's it at now? 126. Dude.
Why buy shitcoins when you can buy in some weird conspicuous government NSA company?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think its PE is like 200 something actually.
Probably.
You guys know that Hood kind of was led by Palantir structurally.
Yes.
On this recovery. I remember I just remembered I put a fractal from Palantir going back to the highs on Hood back when it was probably like in the low 40s, and I faded it and it's back at the highs. And it played out the exact same way.
Real quick, without looking, guess what Palantir's PE is?
192.
526.
Oh,
what?
Oh no.
Oh my gosh. 565. I'm sorry. 565.
Bullish.
Wow.
You just don't know how to value a company with no revenue yet.
I think their net profit was like 11 mil last quarter too. And they're valued at like 260 something billion.
Yeah, that's just unreal, man. I think though that's probably a good spot for us to wrap it up. I think we dodged the rest of the bots, man. Fingers crossed for the rest of the show. We hope that you guys enjoyed today's episode of Market Check. A reminder that we are live Monday through Friday whenever the New York Stock Exchange is open, and our typical start time is around 11:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure to check us out if you enjoyed today's show. Whether or not you are a newcomer or whether or not you are a regular, We appreciate you guys being here as always, but also make sure to tune in for Market Talk hosted by King Wabi. That is a Spaces hosted through the Because Bitcoin X account. So make sure to stay following and subscribe to that, as well as King Wabi's account. So you can be notified not just when we schedule those spaces, but also when we go live. Won't do too much product shield today, but we do, of course, want to talk to you about the BB Terminal, guys, which, you know, we're just going to keep telling you. It is the best product in the market. We've had many of you, you know, reach out in the comments and, of course, in DMs as well, talking about how much you're already enjoying the product. So, you know, I just can't emphasize it enough, guys. Just check it out. Check out the free portfolio tracking. I promise you won't be disappointed. But yeah, that's it from us, guys. We hope that you enjoyed the show today. And before we depart, here is some of your regularly scheduled programming. Thanks again, guys.
Welcome to the all-new BB Terminal portfolio. Faster, smarter, and now free for everyone. Signing up is easy. Just use your Google account to get started in seconds. Once you're in, you'll get a clean, aggregated view of all your wallets. Or dive into individual wallets for more control. We support Wallet Connect for seamless syncing. And don't worry, we use industry-standard encryption to keep your data safe and secure. Prefer not to connect your wallet? No problem, just use our manual entry mode. Choose as many tokens as you like. Then plug in your transactions. It's quick and intuitive. Watch your portfolio stats and charts update in real time. Your portfolio refreshes automatically every hour, but you can also sync instantly with just one click. BB Terminal Portfolio, available to everyone for free.